Okay, welcome everyone to the Arduino project, take-home project from IE for COVID times. We're a project-based student group at the U of M. Some of you probably know, but if you don't, we hope that you join us sometime and you can do more stuff like this. So a little bit about this project. So we wanted something more hands-on since we can't do as much stuff in person since COVID is still going on. So this is a little take-home project where you can make something and feel free to experiment with Arduino or maybe something you haven't done before and make something cool that you can keep in your dorm or your room or whatever. So if you didn't already know, it's going to be an LED lamp that will be encased in resin, and you can power wirelessly and control it with a remote control, which you'll see when you put it all together. So we hope you'll learn a little bit about electronics and how fun it is to be in innovative engineers. So a little bit about some of the really basic parts that you're going to work with and how to make sure that all the parts you got are working. So this is an Arduino. It can take inputs and outputs electronically, and it can also communicate with a big variety of devices, a couple of which you'll see in the course of the project, like an LED receiver, or an IR receiver rather, and a LED ring. It's also really easily programmable. As you can see here, it has a spot to insert a serial cable like this, kind of like a USB. So what we're going to do in this first video is just run a really quick test that you can do, in 2 minutes or less, and make sure that your Arduino and your programming setup is working. So before we do that, a little bit about a breadboard. It's just a place to really easily connect prototype circuits. So each of these rows is connected electrically, and then each of these columns, which are typically used for power, are electrically connected, which, we're not going to go too much into more of the Arduino or breadboard, but if you want to know more, we'll link some videos. So this first test we're going to do is just with the Arduino. So first you take these pins and you'll stick it in your breadboard, and it takes a little bit of force, but if it's not lined up, don't push it too hard because you probably bend something. So now it's all plugged in. You don't have to worry about power when you're working with the USB since it's powered through your computer, but later on we'll look into some other power sources. So plug it in. You'll see your power light come on, which is this one here marked POW. To test it, Arduino actually has some really nice stuff built in. So if you go to File, you can open up some examples, and Blink is typical one that people go to make sure everything's working right. All this does is first it picks the built-in LED, which is actually right next to the power LED, sets it to output, and then turns it on and turns it off with the second in between. So really simple. We won't program it ourselves because they already have an example made. So if you go to File, on a Mac, on Windows, I would assume it'd be the same. And then you go to Basics, you can see you can open up the example called Blink. So if we open that up, it opens up this pre-made file. So we can just look at what this does. So it has all this stuff at the top saying who made it. And then you can see it's the same structure: void setup, void loop. So the setup function will just run once when you turn your board off or you reset it or something like that. And all that it does is that it gets your Arduino ready to start executing code. So it makes different memory addresses, stuff like that, stuff that you don't need to worry about. And then you can add your own setup as well. So if you look pin mode, the built-in LED, which is a keyword, and it sets it to output. So that means that the onboard LED, it's telling it, okay, I'm going to start writing to you either a digital high 5-volt signal or a digital low. So this will run once. It'll just configure that so that the pin is set up correctly. And then if you go down to loop, this just runs over and over after your setup is already run. And you can see digital write, it writes at LED high, meaning it turns it on. It waits a second, so delay 1000, it's in milliseconds, so 1000 is a second. And then it writes it low, meaning it turns it off and waits another second. So what you should actually see is that the LED should turn on, 1 second should pass and it should turn off, and then 1 second on, off, and it keeps doing that forever. So, this is just a really simple example to make sure everything is working right. So, you should have your Arduino plugged into your computer already. We can just go in Tools, make sure everything's still set up. So we have the Nano, we have the old bootloader for the 18 mega 328p, and we have the USB serial that we already looked at. And again, if you have any issues, then you can refer back to the first video, but we can compile this, just make sure that Arduino didn't screw up with their example, and then upload it. You can see it's saying uploading, now it's done uploading. So that's all you have to do to upload a really simple sketch. Later on we'll write our own sketches, but this, you should see in the following video what this looks like. So this is just a quick tutorial. There are a bunch of examples you can look through. So this is a really simple one. This was just a quick test. In some of the next videos, we're going to go into some of the components that we're including with the project and how to get those working and move forward to the final design that you can then bring to us. We'll assemble more permanently and then give it back to you. You'll have your final product and hopefully you'll learn something.